asked it to write a joke for me and it was a fail.
No. It won't work like that. It won't be funny like that. But this is the thing. So this is a key point, Miriam, because this is why people don't have to worry too much about AI, this being a replacement for human.
Please welcome to the Inspiration Place, Jen Lehner. Well, hey there, Jen.
Hey,
welcome.
Miriam. So good to be here. Thank you.
So happy to have you. Okay, so we are going to be talking about ChatGPT, which is artificial intelligence. And quite frankly, when I first heard about it, I was like, yeah. And what caught my interest is there was an article about it in the New York Times where they were seeing if they could use it to cheat. Now, that's not the part that caught my eye. The part that caught my eye was in the article, the journalist said that she was late with her paper and used ChatGPT to compose the note to the professor explaining why she was late. Mm-hmm. And then the professor composed a message back to her explaining why that was not acceptable. And that's when everything started to click. I was like, oh, that's what I could use it for. Like difficult conversations. Yes. And it's my favorite tool. But I understand you've been compiling a list of uses. Mm-hmm. So first, for people who don't know, how would you describe what ChatGPT is?
So it is a artificial intelligence platform that has been trained up to 2021 with the knowledge of we're just going to say the world, okay? Like the Bible, the encyclopedia, conversations, books, literature, song, music, how in sci-fi movies, they have they take, and actually I think NASA does do something like this where, I learned about this in college where they're always blasting pop music and stuff. Like at the time when I was in college, it was Michael Jackson, and they send these sound waves all the time out into outer space. And eventually someone somewhere will capture those sound waves. And then that will be their glimpse of our civilization. So, 60,000 years from now, they're going to hear Billie Jean, in some remote planet. But the point is sort of like a capsule of all the learning up to 2021. And then some people say it's learning, but really we're just feeding the model. Okay. We're calling it the model, and we're feeding it with more information, the more conversations that we have with it. And this is different from Google, because people are like, well, how's this different from Google? It's different from Google in every way. And the best way to really understand it is to just get in there and start messing around with it. But it's set up conversation style. Okay. So you can type in any question, it will answer, and you keep going. So you don't have to build out a complete sentence after you've been going in this conversation. You could just say, now what? Well, what do you mean by that? Well, what about point number 2? Could you explain point number 4 again? Or that doesn't really make sense. Could you rephrase it? And it happens instantly and is really, truly mind blowing. And when you start to see the use case scenarios of this, that's when it's really oh my goodness. Okay. And it's so fun for anybody who's still on Twitter. I personally am still on Twitter, and I love to use it just for research. And if you research #ChatGPT, I try to do that every couple of days because it's amazing the things that people are doing. So you want to jump into some of the use case scenarios?
Okay. So I'm honestly impressed, and I didn't want to be impressed by this.
Right.
I really didn't, because I was not impressed with the one everyone's making selfies with, Sensa.
Yeah. And
the purple selfies.
Right. Mm-hmm. And Lensa.
Lensa. Is that what it is? Yeah.
That's the one I've used.
Lensa. Yeah. So I'll even pop something in there and say, okay, could you rewrite this with emojis?
Oh, I haven't tried that one yet.
No, that's my favorite one. If I have, and my team's using that for captions. You pop in a caption and say, rewrite this with emojis.
I love that. I'm writing it down.
And then if I don't like the way they do it, I tell them how I want them rewritten. Okay. So, and I just want to share that Mariana Nielsen says that she used ChatGPT to rewrite her artist statement.
Whoa. Yeah. Yes. Brilliant. Yes. Perfect use case scenario for an artist. Do you want me to jump into some more?
Yes. Let's jump into, you have a list. How many do you have on your list right now?
We'll talk about general stuff and then stuff specifically for artists. Okay. Like a job posting. You're going to hire someone. All you have to do is go to ChatGPT and say, I need someone who's going to do, what's a good job description for a graphics design person or a virtual assistant or a whatever. And then they'll spit out something great. You tell them what you need them to do, and they'll include things you never would have thought of. Legal documents. This blew my mind. I was on Twitter and I saw someone and they had turned it into sort of a video so you could see it in process. But I think that the prompt was something like, create a lease for an apartment that I want to rent. And he gave, the address, the state that he lived in or whatever. Well, the model knows the laws of renting apartments in Ohio up to 2021, so a legal document was created, which should send a chill down the spine of every lawyer on earth, because at some point this will be able to create accurate legal documents. Obviously, you don't want to bank on these legal documents truly being accurate, if it's like a real serious situation, but it's a start.
Can I just interrupt with
yes.
one? Okay. So we've had on our website this code that used to work for tracking when anyone on a Facebook ad clicked to play the podcast. So it was called, for those who know what Facebook terms mean, it was the podcast listen pixel, and the code wasn't working. So we popped the code into ChatGPT and said, would you fix it? And it rewrote the code.
Genius. Amazing. Yes. Amazing. On that note, correcting anything. So my team is mostly in the Philippines. And so sometimes language, although they're fluent in English, language and phrases can be awkward because they just use different phrases. And sometimes actually they're much more formal than I am. And so for example, someone might say, Miriam, I see that you availed this offer. While grammatically correct, it's super awkward. We don't say availed, that you availed an offer or whatever. I don't, so they can now post anything in there for grammar checks, but not just grammar and spelling checks, but to also say, can you reword this so it sounds more casual, more American? And if the model knows your voice, you can also say, in the voice of Jen Lehner, in the voice of Marian Schulman, in the voice of Amy Porterfield. That's the other thing that's crazy.
Wow. One thing I want to interject though. So those of you who are using it to write copy for you, one thing I noticed is that they are very formal. They don't use, they meaning, so I like to call ChatGPT Hal, by the way.
Okay, we're going to call him
from the 2001 space movie. Okay, for anyone who didn't get that reference, I'm so sorry. We're just a bit older than you. Okay, yeah. So Hal will say, "I will," "I do not." He doesn't seem to use contractions. So he'll give me the thing, and I'll correct it myself, or I'll tell him, just like you said before, would you please rewrite this with contractions? Which, by the way, that is something in general that I tell a lot of artists, that you should always go through your copy and rewrite things with contractions, because it is friendlier. It does sound more like a natural voice. I know that in high school English, we were all taught to say, do not, will not, blah, blah, blah. But it really does sound better if you change all your writing with contractions.
Yeah. And also John Loomer, and everybody should check out what he's doing right now. And this Jon is his first name, and then Loomer. But he is doing these cool experiments with ChatGPT. And he did two things recently. One is he wrote a movie script. He's a Facebook ads guy, but he just is playing around with it. And he was like, I want to make a 60-second movie about something to do with Facebook ads, not a commercial, but a movie. And he shows the ongoing way that he continues to refine and refine and refine, and say that he was like, that's too formal. I want short sentences. And then he'd say, okay, shorter sentences. Okay. Add some jokes. Okay. It's not funny.
It's not funny though.
But he's but it got funny because
I asked it to write a joke for me, and it was a fail.
No. It won't work like that. It won't be funny like that. But this is the thing. So this is a key point, Miriam, because this is why people don't have to worry too much about AI, this being a replacement for human
creativity, right?
In that you still, in order to really get the best out of this, we still have to be maybe even more imaginative than before, right? Because we have to be imaginative in the prompts that we give. So he said, okay, now do it as if it's a scene from The Godfather. Oh my God. Then it became hilarious, and then he switched it up, and he's like, make one person, character number one is Kramer, character number two is Seinfeld, and then all of a sudden it completely changes and becomes hilarious. So there's that. But it was quite a process where he finally got to that point. The other thing is any idea for any sort of content, a movie, a book, a blog, a video, your social media content, Facebook ads. That's the other thing he was doing. Incredible. Headlines for Facebook ads, ideas for strategies for your Facebook ads. Really unbelievable what this system, and any ads really, Google.
Yeah. And you probably have this on your list, but I'm going to interrupt you a lot because I just think it's more interesting if it's like two people. Yeah. Okay. So one thing I know my artists are going to want to use this for is subject line ideas for an email. So I'll write an email, and what I do is I'll say to Hal, please help me come up a subject line for this email. And I pop what I wrote into it. And then it'll give me subject line ideas. Now, one thing that it does, remember I said you have to make sure to use contractions. One thing it does is it likes to use title case with the subject lines, like every word is capitalized. Mm-hmm. No bueno. But when people see that in their inbox, they know it's a newsletter. Make sure it's all lowercase. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes I'll go through there. Okay, rewrite them all with lowercase and give me some emojis. Hal comes up with really good ideas for subject lines. And the other thing I've used him for is YouTube titles. Please help me come up with a catchy YouTube title. So let me just give a more concrete example. I had a video called, which is about the Black experience in art, depicting the Black experience in art. I said, what should I call this video? It came up with Black Art Matters. And now that I say that, you're like, well, of course, but I didn't think of it. So it was like, and they gave me a couple other ones to choose from as well.
So good.
Yeah. Okay. What's next on your list? This is so much fun.
So for artists, like creative, engaging, and accurate descriptions of your art, along with keywords for SEO for your
that's
art.
A good one. So that is one, like you can ask it, I have a video about the Black experience in art. Please give me the YouTube keywords I should use on this. Or please give me the Etsy. I have an abstract painting. Please give me the Etsy keywords that I should use. It's brilliant for that sort of thing.
Yeah. And this one, your audience is going to hate, but it must be mentioned because it is happening and it is just a thing. And that is taking a description that you put your imagination, paint a picture and a description in ChatGPT. Okay. Then, okay, let me give you an example, like a real example. And I pulled this up because I wanted you to.
Do you want to share your screen?
Oh, do we?
Wait, there's one more thing we have to talk about. Yeah. So, and that is about the copyright infringement. So here is the part that is a little bit icky to me. And I did do another podcast episode with Steve Hoffman that's coming out. Mm-hmm. And he was sharing with me that you could, with some of these programs, upload, let's say 5 pictures of 5 paintings, like my portraits by Miriam Schulman, and say, okay, here's a photograph. Now create another painting in the style of Miriam Schulman, which is great for me if I'm the only one who can use that, but I think other people can do that too. So there is that capability. Have you heard about that? Are you on the?
I haven't heard about that controversy, but I've had a conversation with Hal about it.
It's like an ethics thing because it's like you can't copyright a style or an idea, but then all of a sudden, if a computer can generate a brand new artwork in the style of.
But I mean, what is art if not, like, you go to the museum and you're like, there's Cubism, and it was started by this artist.
Right.
And,
that's right.
You know what I mean? Like everybody, like I want to paint like Picasso. I want to paint like Matisse.
That's right.
Like that. What's the difference on that?
True. And that was something that I talked about recently with somebody, is that actually, and it's in my book, is the thing is about art is whatever becomes popular is usually because it's in contrast to what just came before it.
Yeah.
So you can't really chase trends. So if you look, and that's true of everything, not just visual art, but music. I mean, if you look at like what we had, from Beatles to pop to disco to then everything keeps flipping. So we have, disco, now it's grunge, now it's cock rock, now it's Alanis Morissette. So everything
Right.
has to be in contrast to what it came before it. And that kind of creativity is not something that the computer is able to do yet, because that involves sentient knowledge.
Yes. So, I mean, those are the main things. I mean, we're using it a lot in our business, really, with the headlines and the ideas for webinars. And yeah, like I've said, just playing around, gave it many different topics of webinars, and then asked it to come up with titles and key points that I would talk about. And a lot of the stuff was really good, was really usable.
So we did something similar, and this was kind of hilarious. So we have a masterclass called How to Sell More Art Without Being Insta Famous. And now I want to run a live boot camp. So I said, could you give us alternative title ideas? And we didn't tell them I have a book called Artpreneur. And they says, how about Artpreneur Boot Camp? I was like,
no way.
It's like, oh, that's a great idea. Why didn't we think of it? It's kind of like the Black Art Matters. Sometimes these really good ideas are kind of the obvious thing.
Right. So Tracy asked, does your voice become a public thing? I think when you say write a blog post in the style of James Altucher, because there is so much of his work out there. And I would say the same for Miriam. There is so much out there that surely this model learned stuff about her, about him. But I don't, and yeah, I guess even if you didn't have a lot of content out there, I suppose if someone was putting your stuff with your name into the model, then eventually the model would know about you. But that's probably not going to be the case for 99.9% of us. Other people aren't going to be popping in our voice.
And don't forget, their knowledge base is at least 2 years old.
Yep.
Jen said 2 years just now. I think somebody else had told me 3. I'm not quite sure what the exact number is, but it is old. So it doesn't have everything up to the minute.
That is true.
One thing that was pointed out to me is there's a lot of AI happening that we are not even really aware. So I listened to this program called Focus at Will, and it's just generated music that helps me focus when I'm at the computer.
Mm-hmm.
And what I didn't realize is that was AI generated compositions.
Really?
Yeah. So they have a classical station, which is not classical music. And my daughter was listening to it. She's like, well, it kind of sounds like stuff, but I don't recognize it. And my daughter would know, this is Haydn, this is Dvorak, this is whatever. And she said, it's just kind of sounds like stuff, but it isn't anything.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
Here was a tweet that I love that this guy sent out. He said, I'm sorry, I simply can't be cynical about a technology that it can accomplish this. And by this, he attached a screenshot with the prompt being, write a biblical verse in the style of the King James Bible, explaining how to remove a peanut butter sandwich from a VCR. So I'll just read you the first couple of what it's spit out. It's just hilarious. And it came to pass that a man was troubled by a peanut butter sandwich, for it had been placed within his VCR, and he knew not how to remove it. And he cried out to the Lord, saying, "O Lord, how can I remove this sandwich from my VCR? For it is stuck fast and will not budge." And the Lord spoke unto him, saying, "Fear not, my child, for I shall guide thy hand and show thee the way. Take thy butter knife and carefully insert it between the sandwich and the VCR, and gently pry them apart. And with patience and perseverance, the sandwich shall be removed, and thy VCR shall be saved." And it went on out beyond that. But it's just, and then he could change that up again and say, now write it in the voice of 1920s wise guy.
That's awesome. I mean, I can run through the different things I've used it
Please
for
do,
just
please
in the
do.
week. I mean, I might even be able to open it up unless it's. So of course we have to talk about the cheating, right? So how kids are using it to cheat.
Yes.
Does that make you nervous?
It doesn't make me nervous. My brother is a professor at a university, and he, when I first showed it to him a couple of months ago, he's kind of a Luddite anyway, right? And he just was like, oh, he said, my exam questions it would be impossible because I'm very specific about my, they're very complicated, basically, his essay prompts, right? I was like, okay, give me a few. So I plugged it in, and it was unbelievable. The response, it was unbelievable what ChatGPT gave back. And I was like, here, I was like, look at my phone. Like, here, does that worry you now? And he was like, well, wow. But supposedly they're gonna try to add some sort of watermark on there. I think things will just change. Like, I think it's gonna, they'll have to do more like oral exams. I saw another professor that
handwritten essays in class.
Yes, or doing the first draft in class.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah, something. I think that was the New York Times there was some article recently of just about that very topic.
Okay, so I'm going to switch. I'm going to share my screen, and we may even plug some things in just to see what it does.
That would be fun.
Okay, so here is, I was reaching out to Jeff Goins because I got an introduction to him. And for those who don't know, he's the author of Real Artists Don't Starve. And I was trying to figure out how to change my opening for him, the hook, to talk to him without sounding like I really like too fangirly or too desperate or whatever. So I said, is there a better way to write this open, meaning the hook, for this email? So I said, so great to meet you. I loved your book. It was a comp on my own proposal. I'm with the same publisher, blah, blah, blah. And then it rewrote it for me. And it was like, and like I said earlier in our conversation, you do have to edit what they say. You do have to put it through your own filter. It wasn't quite in my own voice, but I was very happy with that. The next thing was I wanted to send a nasty email, and I said, can you make this sound nicer? So thanks so much. I understand that this seems like short notice to you. We actually sent this request in April of last year, but we didn't realize that this person's form was missing until HarperCollins brought this to our attention, and we will blur this out for the video forum. We hope to include her before the publisher's imposed deadline of this Friday. I wanted to extend my sincerest apologies for the short notice in this request. We had actually sent this request in April of last year, but unfortunately, we only recently discovered that her form was missing. We were alerted to this by HarperCollins, and we are eager to rectify this situation as soon as possible. Our goal is to include her in this project before the publisher's imposed deadline of this Friday. We understand that this may be an inconvenience, and we truly appreciate your understanding. And I think I left out "and cooperation" in this matter, because to me that felt, I didn't like that. But it was a good start. You know what I used this for? Wait a minute. This was the best one I used it for. I don't know if it's going to be in my history. So I am going to be doing a training inside Jen's membership program, it's Front Row VIP is the name of it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So because my podcast is in the top 1%, and she has a lot of people who want to build and grow their podcasts, we're going to do a training. But what I remembered, Jen, and I don't know if you realize this, I had already done a training for your group in the past.
Yeah, no, I do, but not on this, I don't think.
So I asked them, and let me see if this is in my history. I asked what do people want to know about podcasting? What are the most asked questions? And they gave me a whole list. And then I looked through the list. I said, well, what do I want to talk about? I picked a few things, and I said, please write me some bullet points about this topic. So basically, help me plan my whole presentation for you. I mean, I'm still going to have to provide the content for it, but it gave me a title, a topic, talking points, and the title. I loved it.
All right, I'm sharing my screen now. Okay, on that same note. So I've got a client who I was thinking, I was playing around with this. Let me get down. Okay, so she's a personal stylist. And so I said, can you give me 10 titles for blog posts for someone who is a personal style coach? Right. This is the first round. It gave me these great topics: 5 ways to update your wardrobe for the new season, the top 10 must-have accessories for every woman's closet, the do's and don'ts of mixing and matching prints, how to dress for your body type, tips and tricks, the ultimate guide to accessorizing an outfit, 5 simple steps to building a capsule wardrobe, how to shop for clothes that fit and flatter, the art of layering, how to create comfortable and chic outfits, the power of confidence, how to dress for success, the benefits of investing in quality pieces in your wardrobe. And then I said, well, how could I create social media posts for topic number 1, which was the 5 ways to update your wardrobe for the new season? And then the suggestions are: share a sneak peek of your new seasonal wardrobe essentials, such as a cozy sweater or a pair of boots. Share a collage of your favorite new seasonal pieces and ask your followers which ones they like most. Share a before and after photo of an outfit that you've updated for the new season, along with a caption explaining how you made the update.
Okay, stop. Let's do this right now for artists.
Yes,
okay,
let's
so
do
I'm going
it.
to give you a prompt. All right. Okay. What are 5 YouTube video ideas for an artist who wants to sell their art? Because we know what the ideas are for people who want to teach techniques. I want to know what it is if they want to sell their art.
Should we make it visual art, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
I noticed sometimes okay.
Well, if it matters, he'll ask us. Here we go. Here are 5 potential YouTube video ideas for an artist who wants to sell their art. Number 1, art tutorials. Share your expertise and knowledge. Now, I'm just going to stop you guys right here. So can't do it. It's like he crashed.
Sometimes that is the bad thing about ChatGPT.
Okay, well, this is where you need Miriam Schulman. So I will tell you that the ideas if you want to sell your art rather than teach tutorials. So if you want to sell your art and you don't want to teach, don't do tutorials, because then you're going to attract people who just want to learn. So what you want to do is do a speed video that is for entertainment purposes only and explain the inspiration behind the piece the same way you would as in an email. Oh, I think he's coming up with other things. Here we go. Very good. All right. Hal's coming up with better ideas this time. Number 1, studio tour. Give your audience a behind-the-scenes look at your art-making process by filming a tour of your studio. Show them the tools you use, the materials you work with, and your creative process. Brilliant.
I never get sick of that. I'm not an artist, but people love to see people's spaces. Okay,
the how-to tutorials, I would not do the how-to unless you want to teach. So let's skip that one. The third one is the obvious one, the time-lapse videos. People love that. Artist Q&A, host a Q&A session where you answer questions from the audience about your art, your inspiration, and your process. And his last idea is art unboxing. Create a video where you show off a new piece of art you created and share your thoughts about it. This can be a great way to create anticipation and excitement around your new artworks and showcase your artworks in a fun and engaging way. And then what is this last bit? More advice?
Yeah, by experimenting with different video formats and sharing your art in a variety of ways, you can create a strong online presence and build an audience of art lovers who are interested in purchasing your work.
Okay. There we go, in real time.
And I noticed I asked it to write, like there was another one I just saw where I asked it to write an NDA. And I think someone else was asking about that. So I just put it in there and I made it specific to the state of Ohio. And it looked like so legit, like a lawyer wrote it. It was crazy.
Okay, I'm just going to look and see if there's any other use scenarios that would be of interest. I used it for copy on my website. Oh, no, this one is, I know what this one was. Somebody who was interested in my course, Email Marketing Mastery for Artists, wanted to know if I actually give out lists of emails of collectors. Now, let me tell you, anybody who's selling that online, don't waste your money on that, because just because they collect art doesn't mean they're going to collect your art. So I had to explain to them how we don't do that and why and what the course actually did. So, I told them I sell a course that teaches artists how to build an email list to sell their art. How do I explain to a potential customer that this does not include a list of people's emails? The first thing Hal did was he said to me, you can explain blah, 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 blah. And then I wrote back to Hal, please rewrite that as a response to the customer directly. Thank you for your interest in our course. I wanted to clarify that while the course does teach artists how to build an email list for selling their art, it does not include a pre-existing list of email contacts. The course focuses on providing strategies and techniques for effectively building your own email list through marketing and outreach efforts. Our goal is to empower you to effectively promote and sell your art to a targeted audience of your own choosing. Like, mic drop. Wasn't that this? So this is how I'm using it the most, is really difficult conversations with people and customers.
Yeah,
you customers are difficult. You guys are all beautiful. and lovely.
Yeah, Miriam and I have a mutual friend who just happens to be gifted with lingo for difficult conversations. She just it
She's
just
very
comes up
good.
and it sounds fantastic. So now we can give her a break because we just can go to Hal and be like, how do we tell this person this,
Okay,
So,
Linda says, how do we sign up for this? Is
free.
there a fee? Okay, first of all, we're not affiliates. And second of all, it is free as of now. But I have to tell you, when they come out with the paid version, I will be gladly paying for it.
Well, when you log in, they now have a thing. I haven't seen it, but someone told me there's a thing that pops up now that where you could sign up for the beta of paid. Oh yeah, I'll pay for it too, especially if we pay and we
100%.
run into because what's happening now, you guys, is that what you'll notice when you go to play right now, it seems to be functioning. So as soon as you leave us, go and try, and those of you who are live with us, go and try it out. But it crashes a lot. So you can't, because the world is waking up to this, and everybody's playing with it.
Everybody's talking about it.
Yes.
Everybody's using it. I think there's high demand time seems to be at night when kids are doing homework.
Yeah, that's a good, and kind of early, because half of like if you're on the East Coast, half of the United States at least is asleep. You know what I mean? In the morning. So is not a bad time to use it.
The morning is awesome. Okay. So let me tell you how to get it. So go to openai.com. Did I get that right? Openai.com.
chat.openai.com.
Okay. And then you can use, I think, either your Google login for it. And as of now, it's free. But like I said, I'll be signing up for the paid version when that comes out.
Won't think twice about that.
No.
So I just want to say, I think for anybody who's hearing about this for the first time, I think the way to think about this is as a way to enhance what we're doing. It's a tool that saves time.
All right, Jen, thank you so much for being with me here today. Do you have any last words?
No, thank you. I just would say, go have fun with this, enjoy it, play around with it, and then impress all your friends with it. And Miriam, I think we have to do a part 2. Maybe we'll do that on my podcast, because we're going to come up with like 50 more ideas for this. We're just scraping the surface. So will you come on my podcast for a part 2?
Sure. I'd love to.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being with me here today. Until next time, stay inspired.